The 130th edition of the Roy's Boys podcast starts right now.
Carolina basketball family is the strongest there's ever been. There ever will be.
Nate Humphrey hands King Rice the ball. Pushes into Hubert Davis. 8 seconds. Davis trying to get free. Over to Fox. Fox, baseline. Up for the shot. Dive off the glass. Oklahoma calls timeout. But the game is over. The game is over. Carolina has upset number 1 Oklahoma. Been ready on his second attempt. That one is no good. They battle for it. Loose ball. Recovered by Vinny.
With 20 seconds left to play. Goes back to Michael Jordan. Jumper from out on the left. Good! 63, 62, 13, 12, 11. Georgetown with one timeout. Brent Brown looking. Throw away to Worthy. 35. The Tar Heels are going to win the national championship. Carolina with foul. He takes the timeout. Technical foul. Technical foul.
Brown gets it into Williams. Here comes Williams front court. Williams on the drive. Gets it back out the head. Long outside shot. Short rebound. It's over. And how about the Tar Heels? They are the national champions.
The Tar Heels are the national dadgum champions.
And that's what it takes when you big time games. You got to compete. You do it with your brain, and you got to do it with your heart too. And that's pretty doggone good.
From QCBroadcasting.com, this is the Roy's Boys podcast with your host, Josh Marlowe. Hey everybody, welcome you to another edition of the Roy's Boys podcast. We are powered by Carolina Electrical Services. We hope that you all had a great Easter weekend with your families and are staying safe and healthy as we are still in this national regional quarantine as the coronavirus has taken over the world. And with that, Anthony, we've actually got a lot to talk about, despite the fact that Carolina hasn't played basketball in well over a month and no teams have played basketball in well over a month. And the first topic that we're going to discuss is a lighthearted topic, but one that got a lot of attention on Twitter from the Tar Heel fan base. And that's the fact that Roy Williams, the Hall of Fame head coach, the guy that this podcast is named after, was doing some Zoom calls, FaceTime calls with the guys, trying to stay in touch with the players, and was sporting a new beard. And it was a new look from him, something that we've never seen. It was something that kind of caught my eye, kind of like when Larry Fedora rocked out with the beard that 2016 year. And, I thought old Roy could rock the beard, full time. Could just be something that you see the coach rolling with in the season.
This past season, yes, he should have definitely rolled with that because that would have definitely portrayed probably what he was feeling for most of the year. The reason he has the beard is probably because he cannot go to his barber and get it fixed up. I'm assuming Wanda maybe isn't the greatest in terms of cutting hair, trimming beard. So Roy just said, we'll let it go. My favorite part of the whole thing, there were two things that were awesome. We don't really know him like this, but a lot of the other reporters know him. They said definitely prime Roy to have Wanda's iPhone be where he had to go from for the Zoom meeting. He has no clue how to get on Zoom at all. So that's pretty phenomenal to see that Roy is still going about his non-technological ways, even though we are going through this time where you pretty much need to use technology to communicate. He's saying, screw it, I'll just go on the telephone or through text message to communicate with the people that I need to. And also, it looked like, from my perspective, he pretty much just woke up out of bed and sat down into the interview. He had hair all over the place, did not care at all, which is great because I'm pretty much in the same area at this point of life as well. I don't think I've combed my hair probably in about 3 weeks now. So rock it out, Roy. And by the way, I also have the beard going on. So yes, I tend to like the beard.
Yeah, it was something that, one of my favorite things was the players' reactions. They couldn't believe it. Guys were like, message each other, say, hey, you got to check out the beard. So it was cool to see Coach keeping everything lighthearted during a very non-lighthearted time. And so with that, that's enough beer talk for today. We'll move on to another interesting thing that happened within the last week or so. The ESPN released its latest NBA draft mock for the upcoming 2020 draft. Cole Anthony was not listed among the top 10 players that they believe will be picked within the first 10 picks of the draft. And we've had a lot of discussions both before the year, during the year, and after the year. What is Cole Anthony going to do? I think this is a sign that he could be leaning back in terms of coming back to school for a sophomore year. Are you in the same boat?
You know, I don't really know what to think about it. I know that there have been a couple of mock drafts that could kind of picked him to fall, but for every mock draft that picks him to fall outside of the top 10 or even the lottery, which I think would probably be the area where he would have to drop out in order to, you know, start to have those feelings of maybe I should come back. There's another mock draft that has him getting drafted 6th to the Knicks, which is a very popular destination. There's a lot of people that kind of see him going, if Washington stays inside of the top 10, they could see them drafting him as well. It all kind of depends, I guess, on what ends up happening with the draft process. They said that they're thinking about pushing it back. I ultimately don't think it really matters, because I think what really is going to matter in this case, because I just don't know if they're going to be able to have a combine or any sort of really normal pro day workout. I think it's probably going to end up being teams are really just going to have to do their evaluation on film and really just kind of talk to guys and see who they fall in love with. And, that's the thing. Does a team like New York fall in love with him? Does a team like Washington fall in love with him? If they do, then I just don't see him coming back. I don't. Because, he's still going to be a guy that's in the lottery. And, I think at this point, we know the Knicks a little bit. They're a team that's just ultimately confused at point guard, 3 guys that really, I don't know how high their ceilings are in the NBA. I think 2 of them are pretty much just a waste of money at this point that are on the roster. And I think that Cole Anthony would probably be looked at as an upgrade, mainly because of how much upside he has. So I think the Knicks could definitely be a team to watch out for. And then there's some other teams where it really just depends on how the lottery shakes out. It doesn't help his case that you're seeing other guys like Tyrese Halliburton, who's moved up a lot of boards. And this is also one of the stronger classes in terms of international players that we've seen in a while. But ultimately, this is still a class that really isn't overly fantastic. It's really going to be through the evaluation process. Who do you fall in love with? Who do you think has the most upside? And the upside thing is where I think Cole Anthony has an advantage. So it'll be interesting. I think this definitely helps the case that people are trying to make that he could come back. But ultimately, this is the question that has to be asked. If he comes back, where does he fit in? Are you going to start him over Caleb Love, or are you going to move him to the 2 guard and play him there? I don't know exactly where he fits on this team. And if everything that a lot of people believe is correct, that Caleb Love just fits this team a lot better, I don't think that you should really be hoping and praying that he comes back.
Yeah, the reason why I think you would probably lean to him being back right now is he delayed his decision, whereas you've seen a bunch of guys within the last week or so declaring, amid all the concern about when the draft is going to happen and pretty much knowing there's not going to be a combine process. And you made the comment about, well, teams are going to be a lot more able to get into the film. Well, if he has uneven film, you look at his tape before the injury and he had moments, and then you look at when he came back, when Carolina lost 7 straight games, he wasn't very good. And then you had the 3 wins where he played to his talent and looked like a guy that could function in Carolina's system. But then you have the final game at Duke and then the ACC tournament loss to Syracuse that are all still in the back of your head. So for the teams that are being able to more scout him, there are more problems with his game. If you come back, you get a chance to continue to develop your game as a point guard. You mentioned Caleb Love coming in, a guy that has gotten a lot of rave reviews as a good fit. Well, if Cole Anthony can learn to play off the ball, that's only going to make him more valuable in the NBA where positionless basketball is the norm. So I think that's why right now you would lean to him coming back. There are concerns about, how does he fit on the roster with all the talent coming in that backcourt? But that's what you got a Hall of Fame head coach for. You would trust that Roy Williams would be able to figure that out. And so with that, move on. Some roster news that came out last week was that Brandon Huffman, a big man that came in the 2017 class, announced his decision to transfer and leave the Carolina basketball program. He becomes only the sixth transfer under Roy Williams in his 17 years in Chapel Hill, a second one for the program in back-to-back years. It's not a big loss in terms of production because the interior was already crowded for Huffman, and it's going to be even more crowded next year. The thing I want to talk about is he the first of maybe another guy or two that we could see Carolina, I'm not going to say forced to leave. We kind of saw Mac Brown do this when he came back in football, where he was just trying to make room for other players. Could Huffman be the first of a string of guys that we could see Roy Williams make roster availability open for other people?
I don't know if that's really how it's going to work out, because I've already told you what I think is going to happen if there's another guy that's on this roster currently that ends up leaving. And I think that would probably be Sterling Manley, because he would most likely medically retire. Because, I mean, let's be real honest, it's been almost a year and a half now, and from what we can tell, there has been almost no progress with the knee. We haven't heard anything here recently about him. Since he had that second surgery, really haven't heard a whole lot. But at this point, you just kind of have to wonder. I mean, he's been out this long, and is that knee going to be able to hold up, even if he is able to get back to a point where he's able to play? I mean, after playing a few games on it, it could end up deteriorating right back into a situation where he just won't be able to play. So I think that's one of the situations that we've got to monitor real close. Other than that, I just don't really know if we're going to see anybody leave. I know there were a lot of people that were saying, well, maybe Playtech leaves. I don't think so. I think there's enough of a fit with him being a good enough defensive player and a guy that's been at Carolina now for 3 years already that he probably won't end up leaving and going elsewhere. Brandon Huffman, it makes a little more sense because we saw as the year went along, his play decreased even more and eventually got to the point where at one time late in the year, it looked like Walker Miller was a better option according to what was being shown from the coaching staff when they would make substitutions, that Walker Miller was the better option of the two. So, I think for Huffman, I mean, look, there were a lot of people when we put the article out that were saying, good riddance to him. Thank God he's off the team. Had no business being here. I don't really think that along those lines. I mean, he was a guy that committed to Carolina during a time where really just a lot, there was a bad reputation. And especially among big men, Carolina just really wasn't having a ton of success. Now, in that class, they did, but you got to remember, Garrison Brooks was a four-star guy that we just really didn't know a whole lot about. Sterling Manley was actually considered the most talented of the group, but again was raw and was a guy that needed to grow a lot. And then you had Brandon Huffman who came in. We had no idea who out of the three would end up becoming the best player out of that group. There was a time where we thought Brandon Huffman could bring something to the table. He got a scholarship for a reason. So I wish him the best. It makes a lot of sense why he's leaving, and it freed up a scholarship for Carolina, so it's good. But I don't think this is something where Roy Williams is really going to force a lot of other guys out, mainly because really they have one remaining target, and that's it. Everybody else is pretty much, they found their homes. So I think just that one free scholarship is going to be enough for Carolina, and unless Sterling Manley medically retires, I think we've seen the last of the guys who are going to move out.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think if you're losing another guy, it would be Manley, but it wouldn't because Manley's leaving because he wants to. I think it's just because he gets told by the doctors, you're never going to be able to play basketball at a high level again. And so then he would just, like you said, medically retire. And you saw Carolina do this back when maybe they pushed J.P. Tokoto out when they were trying to get Brandon Ingram, and it backfired. So I don't think they would necessarily be trying to push players out the door in hopes to land someone on the recruiting